Namaste, India. I am Shrans Modi. Hope you are taking good care of yourself and fighting strongly against Corona by keeping yourself at home. Well, our government has also left no stone unturned, and because of their efforts, thankfully, we have been able to avoid the massive scare to the level as faced by some other developed economies. One such brilliant action taken by our government came on 24th March 2020 by our Honorable Finance Minister. Her speech bring down few relaxations, exemptions on the front of statutory and regulatory compliances. Well, I try to decode those finance minister's speech in layman terms so that you are able to understand it in a better way and plan it accordingly. I did not give detailed description about myself considering the brevity of time, but to ensure that you are in safe hands, I have provided my LinkedIn profile below so that you can refer them. The agenda for this video will be covering the topics as follows. First, income tax matters, which are relevant to both individuals and corporates. GST regime, which again will be useful for both individuals and corporates. Custom provisions, financial services, and finally matters related to Ministry of Corporate Affairs. A word of caution. Many opinions are floating after the speech that's just decoding speech as it is. But there's more to it. Every government speech or budget speech is followed by a government document which is being released officially post that speech. In this case also, government has released a press note and press release on the PIB website which you can refer for the exact provisions being introduced. This will help you out in making an informed decision, and the document which is in your hand will be a relevant source. Well, I have used that document to bring my opinion forward in front of you, and I will be taking the agenda of this session has been prepared in similarity to the flow being followed in the Press Information Bureau's press release. Now, starting with the Press Information Bureau's press release point by point, first, income tax matters. The first such change or relaxation, I would say, introduced was with respect to the return filing date for financial year 18 and 19. Mind you, currently we are in financial year 1920. So, the change which has been brought is with respect to the last year, which is financial year 18-19. The last date for filing return for financial year 18-19 was 31st March 2020. Now, owing to troubled circumstances, this date has been extended to 30th June 2020. Kindly note the date has been extended to 30th June 2020 from erstwhile 31st March 2020. So all those who haven't filed their return for financial year 18-19 yet, the window has been extended. Now you can file your return up till 30th June 2020. The next amendment came with respect to linking your Aadhaar card with PAN. This has been made mandatory by the government to link your Aadhaar card with your PAN, and the due date erstwhile was 31st March 2020. Now this date has also been extended to 30th June 2020. The third important relaxation which was being brought in income tax matters was with respect to Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. This has been an important scheme which has been launched by government in the beginning of year 2020 to provide taxpayers with an opportunity to resolve their disputes related to income tax matters. They can voluntarily come up and pay the disputed tax amount and they'll get relief on interest and penalties. Now, as per the original scheme framed, The deadline was 31st March 2020, which was the date till which you can deposit your tax without any additional levy. But if you are not able to do so, the extended deadline was 30th June 2020, but you have to pay an additional 10% tax. Now, the relaxation which has been made has been the post 31st March 2020 till 30th June 2020, the additional levy of 10% has been removed now. That means you can pay your disputed tax amount without any additional levy of 10% up till 30th June 2020. A very well, I would say, and very important amendment which could be benefited by individuals and corporates. Considering this corona outbreak, they can take this additional deadline to their benefit and can comply with the provisions. The fourth update under income tax provisions came with respect to extension of timeline for issuance of notices, intimation, notification, appeals, order, reports, documents, timeline for making investments under Section 80C, making reinvestment under capital gains under Income Tax Act, whichever date was earlier falling between 20th March till 29th June has been extended to 30th June. In layman terms, if I would say, any timeline of issuance of notices, appeal orders, sanctions, documents, limit for making investment under ATC, whose deadline was falling within the timeline of 20th March to 29th June has been extended to 30th June. The fifth important update came with respect to reduction in interest rate on delayed deposits of regular tax, self-assessment tax, advance tax, TDS, TCS, equalization levy, STT, CTT, and so on from erstwhile 12 or 18% as the case may be to 19% for the delayed payments falling in between the period 20th March 2020 to 29th June 2020, provided these payments have been made up to 30th June 2020 and no late fee penalties will be levied. Now, these changes were with respect to income tax. Now, moving on to GST, there have been few changes which have also been introduced in the regime of GST, and those are very important ones considering the timelines for GST are recurring every month or quarter as the case may be. So, the changes in GST are: first one, SSCs whose annual turnover are less than 5 crore. Kindly note, SSCs whose annual turnover is less than 5 crores, they can file their GST return falling due in March, April and May 2020 by the last week of June 2020. To make it more simpler, let's take an instance. The return for the month of February was due, GST 3B I'm talking about, was due to be filed up till 20th March 2020. Now, the date has been extended till last week of June 2020. Similarly, for the month of March, the due date is 20th April 2020. And for April it's 20th May 2020. For these 2 months as well, the date has been extended till last week of June 2020. Now, the window is last week of June. Specific dates have not been introduced yet. The dates will be introduced shortly and the dates will be in a staggering way. For some, it will be a day of the last week. For some, it will be some other day of the last week, in order to reduce congestion on the GST website and to avoid hassles for the taxpayers as well. No interest, late fee or penalty will be charged for these 3 these 3 months deadlines, which has been extended till 30th June, last week of 30th June 2020. So you can avail these relaxation measures for filing your GST 3B return. For assessees whose turnover is more than 5 CR, for them the interest rates have been reduced to 9% per annum, which was much higher before. So, if you are a assessee whose turnover is more than 5 crores, so your return filing deadlines falling in the month of March, April, and May has been extended till last week of June 2020. But for the assessees having annual turnover more than 5 crores, there is no such provision of no interest levy. The interest will be levied, but at a reduced rate of 9% per annum. Although late fee and penalties are waived for this category as well if the compliance has been made till last week of June 2020. The third amendment in GST regime has been with respect to opting for composition scheme. Again, the timelines for opting for composition scheme for the financial year ending 31st March 2020, the date has been extended to last week of June 2020. The fourth amendment in terms of GST regime has been with respect of filing GST annual return for financial year 18-19. The GST annual return due date for financial year 18-19 erstwhile was 31st March 2020. Now again, this date has been extended to last week of June 2020. If you see, the amendments in the GST regime has been extended till last week of June 2020. The exact dates for that last week of June 2020 has not been introduced yet, but it will be introduced shortly. This has been made in order to avoid site congestion during last week, so staggering dates will be provided soon. Moving on, as I mentioned in the income tax provisions, many notices, notification appeals due dates will fall in the last from the time period of 20th March till 29th March. Now those timelines for those notices, appeals or documents has been extended till 30th June 2020. Moving on to customs. In custom, an important relaxation has been made with respect to custom clearance services. Now, the finance minister in her speech announced that the custom clearance till the end of 30th June 2020 will be operational 24/7. That's a very important relaxation being provided to the importers and exporters in order to facilitate smooth trade across borders. Now that was with respect to custom. Moving on, the next line item in our agenda was with respect to financial services. Now the financial services are being used by almost every people, and these relaxations are applicable to almost everyone who are availing those services. Now the relaxations which I am gonna discuss shortly are applicable for just 3 months. These relaxations, mind you, are applicable for next 3 months. The relaxations are: first, waiver of minimum balance fee. Now if you notice that any bank account which you have generally have a requirement of maintaining minimum average monthly balance or average quarterly balance. Now this minimum average balance requirement has been relaxed for 3 months. The next amendment which have been introduced or relaxation which have been made under this category is with respect to withdrawing cash. Now the government is urging all of us to stay at home. Now there can be requirement of withdrawing cash shortages, and you have to rush to bank. In order to relax that pressure, government has introduced this relaxation whereby you can withdraw cash from any bank's ATM near to your home, irrespective of your own bank. Means if you are having a bank account in say HDFC Bank, but the nearest ATM to your home is ICICI Bank, you can withdraw cash from ICICI Bank and there won't be any withdrawal fees levied, irrespective of the number of times you withdraw from that bank. That's again another important relaxations introduced and will be applicable for every one of us. The third relaxation under this category, financial services category, is with respect to reducing bank charges for making digital transaction. Government has of late been emphasizing on going digital. Now, considering lockdown situation, this has become even more important. So, government has reduced the bank charges on making transactions digital. Now, moving on, the last item in our agenda is Ministry of Corporate Affairs relaxations. So, corporate affairs relaxations are applicable to companies and LLPs. Now, there are many important relaxations important being made under this category. The first among them is government has that relax the additional fees on filing ROC forms during the moratorium period of 3 months, which starts from it's 6 months. It starts from 1st April 2020 till 30th September 2020. It means any late filing which is being levied on filing ROC forms during this moratorium period has been waived off. This can also be seen as a fresh start for companies and LLPs who have made default in the past. They can file those forms during this window and the additional fees on such filing has been waived off. Again, a really important relaxation considering the scenario we are in. The next amendment has been made with respect to holding board meetings. As per Companies Act 2013, there has been mandatory requirement of holding board meetings in a year, and the gap between two board meetings cannot be more than 120 days. Now, the relaxation has been made for the first 2 quarters of financial year 2020-21, where this 120 days gap has been further extended by 60 days. Third, Companies Auditors Report Order 2020 erstwhile has been made applicable for financial year 2019-20. Now, a relaxation has been made which make this order applicable from financial year 2020. Kindly note, erstwhile it was made applicable starting with financial year 1920. Now, this order has been made applicable starting from financial year 2021. Another important relaxation which is useful for both companies and its auditors as well. Moving on, the next amendment has been with respect to holding a meeting by an independent directors. Independent directors are required to hold at least one meeting without non-independent directors in it. This was a requirement of Companies Act 2013. Now this requirement has been further relaxed, and the companies who are not able to hold even a single such independent directors meeting will not be considered as doing violation of the provisions of Companies Act 2013. Another important relaxation is with respect to deposit reserve of 20%. As per the provisions of Companies Act, a company is required to maintain a deposit reserve of 20% of the deposits maturing in the next financial year. For instance, for deposits maturing in financial year 2021, let's say INR 100 crores, A company has to maintain a deposit reserve of 20% of INR 100 crores, that is 20 crores, up till 30th April 2020. Now, the relaxation has come with respect to extending this deadline of 30th April 2020 to 30th June 2020. Another similar relaxation or exemption came with respect to investment of 15% in terms of debentures maturing in next financial year. As per Companies Act, a company has to invest 15% of the debentures maturing in the next financial year in specified investments up till 30th April 2020. Now, this date has been extended till 30th June 2020. The next important relaxation came with respect to filing of certificate of commencement of business with Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Any new company incorporated need to mandatorily file a certificate of commencement of business within 6 months of its incorporation. Now, this deadline has been further extended by 6 months. Next update is with respect to a mandatory requirement under company law for any director of a company to comply with minimum residency requirement of staying in India for at least 182 days. Now, this requirement has been exempted under Section 149 of the Companies Act, and a company not able to do compliance with this requirement will not be treated to consider as a violation of law. Finally, the last important relaxation came with respect to insolvency and bankruptcy provisions. Considering the financial distress going on, there might be companies which fall under the insolvency proceedings. In order to avoid such a scenario and give benefit to the MSMEs so that they don't fall under the insolvency proceedings, the threshold limit erstwhile of INR 1 lakh has been increased to INR 1 crore. This will prevent MSMEs, small scale companies, to go into insolvency proceedings considering the turbulent scenario going on. Well, these were the updates which were covered by the Honorable Finance Minister in her speech on 24th March 2020. You can refer to the press release, an official government document released afterwards, for the details about all those amendments or relaxations provisions. The link of the comment site where you can find the press release is mentioned below. Kindly note, these opinions are my personal opinion considering reading the press release issued by the government. In case you are taking any actions based on it, it's advisable to take your financial advisor's opinion before implementing it. I hope this video would help you in planning for your regulatory and statutory compliances. Thank you. Ciao. Stay strong, stay healthy.